Hello everybody and welcome back to NMI when you need more info. Hey, it's Nate here. So just to let you know that we actually lost about a minute and a half of 2 minutes of the footage, the audio footage from the start. Audio file? Who knows? But anyway, we lost about a couple of minutes before the start and but we get into the nice little conversation bit at the beginning, but we hope you do enjoy the episode. And I might try and give you a little bit of a preview as we get into the episode, but then the audio will cut and I'll make a distinction when the audio does cut to the next section. So yeah, enjoy the episode. Bye-bye. When you need that info, need more info for that podcast time, you need to join the show for all that NMI, when you need more info. Okay, so that was sort of like the intro that we went for before. But anyway, enjoy the episode. Speak to everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so I seen Secret Invasion last night, and I can't give you spoilers about how I felt about the series. That'll come up later in the next. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's going to be very interesting to say the least, to be honest. But obviously, we are definitely looking forward to checking out a review for that later on. So obviously, people, we like to do a bit of an intro first. So James, have you been since we last did the podcast?
I think, when was the last time we did a podcast?
It was a couple of weeks ago now when we did Mission
Impossible.
No, because I did Ted Lasso by myself. So it's actually been more weeks than it was The Witcher Part 1.
You're going to ditch us soon just to do podcasts.
I'm going to be that goddamn diva. That's for sure.
Going to clone yourself and do podcasts with clones.
I mean, well, Attack of the Nates. Oh God, fuck that. No, even I'm like hell no to that, to be honest. But yeah, no. What have you been up to since we last podcasted?
Procrastinating with this conversation so I can figure out something. What have I been up to? Watching Mission Impossible. Still haven't watched Oppenheimer yet. I really want to watch that. It's on my list. Hopefully next week.
Probably be less busy, to be honest, then, because I'm.
That's true. So no, it's been quite packed, hasn't it?
I'm trying to go see Barbie. It's absolutely packed in, the cinema and also the both of them near us are absolutely. And I've just seen people. I've seen constant pink in town. I don't know if you have as well, but
no, I haven't noticed that. I'm a spectacularly unobservant person, so I've not noticed that at all.
I mean, I think putting those two films together, a lot of people thought, it's going to be like awful for box office. It's kind of working perfectly for both of them.
I mean,
to be honest.
if they did sequels, they should have Gerwig direct Oppenheimer. You can't do an Oppenheimer too, but you know what I mean.
Cillian Murphy has come out and said he does want to star in the Barbie sequel.
I was going to say I want to see a Christopher Nolan Barbie sequel. Is what I've got to say.
What, 3 hours of trying to figure out what the fuck is going on? I am looking forward to Oppenheimer, to be honest, because for one thing, I'll be able to understand what's going on. Yeah. Two, I'm really liking the fact that Cillian Murphy has finally got a leading role in a movie. Obviously,
I mean, you say finally, he's had leading roles beforehand, but
in a Nolan movie.
That's true. I was going to say. Yeah.
And also, fun fact, I don't know if you noticed, I think I put it in the chat, both films at the box office have been Batman villains.
Okay.
Scarecrow and Harley Quinn.
Oh, of course, yeah, you're right.
So, it's just like, it's not just a Boppenheimer combo, it's a Bat and Boppenheimer combo. I'm very intrigued by that, to be honest. It's really weird to, think, two major villains are leading the box office, and it's both. I don't know if Oppenheimer's Warner Brothers as well. I don't think it is.
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I mean, I know a lot of what Nolan used to do was with Warner Brothers. I can't remember. It still does.
I know Mattel is Barbie, but I don't know who's publishing it. But anyway, games-wise, have you played any games at all? Or
I'm still getting my way through Marvel's Midnight Suns. I finished all the DLCs recently, so I'm now full speed ahead on trying to finish the main campaign.
How are they?
I liked it. I mean, I enjoyed all the DLCs.
I heard they're short.
Quite short. So each DLC you get a new hero to play with. You get 3 missions, and also if you have all 4 DLCs, once you've completed all of their mission packs, all of those 3 missions, you get another special mission, which completes the whole story that they're telling.
Okay, I do like that. Actually having a reason to have all the DLCs come together and everything. Myself, I'm playing Remnant 2 at the moment. Don't know if you've heard of that.
I don't know that one.
It's like a Dark Souls-esque game but each there's like 5 or 6 worlds, but they're randomly generated each playthrough. So one person might have it. It's like a gun combat Dark Souls. I think actually you quite like it because there's a lot of checkpoints.
It depends how much. Okay, checkpoints would help. I was going to say
there's a lot of checkpoints. That's the reason why I like it as well.
I love Dark Souls, but oh my god, am I bad at those games?
Oh, we're both fucking awful. And did we both complete Elden Ring? No, exactly. We didn't fucking complete that.
I stopped off. Yeah, I stopped at a point where apparently a lot of people drop off at Elden Ring. So, but I got quite far into it, so I was quite happy with how far I got into Elden Ring.
I mean, I think I got about 126 hours into Elden Ring.
I did like 220.
Yeah, oh no, we've got a friend who's like 400, 500 hours, so like there are people we know who go above me on for it. But yeah, so I think outside of that though, obviously people, you're here to listen to us review for Mission Impossible, and I'm blanking on the bloody Secret Invasion. I just said it at the beginning. It was only 5 minutes ago. Just to make people aware, we do seem to be going into review mode lately because we've got The Witcher. We're going to be doing The Witcher Season 3 Part 2, the unfortunate farewell to Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia.
Yeah, so I will have a lot to say. So no, I can be quite generous in my reviews, feeling of the Witcher thing, but you'll find out when we talk about it. I've not seen the second part yet. But one thing I do want to caveat whenever we talk about the Witcher TV series is if you're going to review it as an adaptation of source material, oh my god, it's so low out of 10. It's an abomination. I'll fully admit it's an abomination of source material. Source material is so much better, but I don't mind watching the Witcher series. So,
I mean, we'll definitely get into that. We will definitely get into that, to be honest. But yeah, so I think we're going to get into it now. So obviously, what we're going to do today, people, we're going to do something a little bit different. So obviously, with our episodes, we have time codes synced for our episodes. So if you don't, we are going to do a spoiler section for each of these movies and TV shows, but don't worry, we will pre-warn you, and also we will have time codes and actually split it up, and also maybe like a 1-2 minute conversation between them as well. So if the audio does overlap a little bit and you actually go into the next segment, don't worry, because we will be making sure that doesn't happen. So if you haven't seen Mission Impossible and you want to go straight to Secret Invasion or vice versa, just check the time code and we could definitely take care of that for you. I'll be doing that ahead of time. And yeah, so I think we're definitely going to get into it now. So right, I think we're going to start with Mission Impossible, shall we? I think
yep.
Let's do the impossible task of getting this review done quickly. So James, initial impressions for Dead Reckoning.
Fucking loved it. So, well, okay, I really enjoyed it. Massively action packed. Main criticism, which we might delve into at some point, is I feel there could have been a bit more story. I felt there was almost too much action at some point, especially during the middle. I would have liked some plot elements to have and had a bit more breathing room.
So it's interesting because obviously I have a similar thing to you. I do think it was a bit too long in my opinion. Like I think 2 hours and 50 minutes.
I didn't mind the length. I mean that's one thing I personally didn't mind. Long film, 2.5, long-ish film, 2.5 hours, but it did fly by for me.
I think the reason I'm more in a case of like it was a bit too long because this is part 1.
Yes.
That's my own concern, because obviously with John Wick Chapter 4, the final John Wick movie, as we know, of course, that was actually the same time as this movie.
Right, yeah.
But that was a finite end. Well, that was a finished ending. Like,
meant to be, yeah.
Yeah, and I think like they could have. I don't know because obviously all people have seen going into this movie is basically. Like I saw behind the scenes footage of the train sequence. Like they actually built that train to throw it off a cliff, which was interesting. Wow, yeah. The motorcycle stunt everyone knew about, like the fact there was a ramp and the CGI hill, which I thought was brilliant. But I do agree with you. The story was a bit lacking, but I think that's because it was a part 1. Like, I think
so. I'm not going to forgive it for that. Just because it's a part 1 doesn't mean. You can be doesn't give it an excuse to be lacking in story. I'm not going to let that be an excuse.
Oh no, but I think it's a case of like
so maybe I'll expand it in part 2, but either way, I can't give it a pass just for being a part 1.
No, I completely agree, and I think for me it's a case of I think the story will be once it's fully told, then we'll get that understanding. But I also do want to know why it was part 1 and part 2. If like. Because every other Mission Impossible film hasn't done this. Why was this one? I think because originally they did say it was a conclusion to the Ethan Hunt franchise.
Yeah.
But now they're saying it's not. And I'm like, don't Don't give us a part 1 and a part 2.
Yeah.
And also it's called Dead Reckoning. And when you see the film, people, this should really be a conclusion, because you can't really go at where this is going next. I don't know how you're going to top this movie story wise, unless he just jumps from space.
I mean, it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to finding out where it goes.
And it is only 1 year away.
Potentially. I mean, it depends on the writer strikes.
That is very true, to be honest. Yeah, but we won't dive into that too much.
No.
Yeah, so obviously coming into this movie, obviously we see Ethan Hunt in what was supposed to be his final adventure in the IMF, the Impossible Mission Force team, going up against a very interesting enemy. We won't discuss the enemy too much until the spoiler section, because I feel that's needed more for the spoiler section. Yep. But I think Tom Cruise, the man is just a goddamn fucking stunt machine. Like, he is... You say what you will about Tom Cruise, he's a great actor, but he is an amazing actor in regards to this. Like, he puts his life on the line for the cinema.
I do have massive respect for Tom Cruise in terms of his acting and Mission Impossible series, and how he does a lot of his own stunts. And
I mean, I think he does all of his own stunts, really. Like, when he broke his ankle for the last movie, like obviously jumping off the hill in this one. Also, he held his breath for 6 minutes.
That was Rogue Nation, yeah.
Which was beaten by Kate Winslet.
I didn't realise that, but...
She held her breath for 7 minutes for the latest Avatar movies.
Oh,
so Kate Winslet learned from Titanic how to hold her breath a bit more.
Right, yeah.
But obviously, with this movie, I think this movie is starting to show, like, Ethan Hunt's limitations to a degree. Like, I mean, we could still see him run like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking we are starting to see his limitations, and Tom Cruise does give a great portrayal in that, and I do think.
Yeah. I see what you mean. You mean as a character?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Ethan Hunt has always been the character who can pretty much do anything, and I think this mission and movie does show that maybe this mission might be impossible.
He's got vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and also this mission might be impossible. Like, I think this movie finally shows us the title to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we could talk about the other actors as well. Hayley Atwell specifically, who came into this movie now as the character of Grace, Ethan's new ally. We won't go into her character too much until the spoiler section, but she, coming from Marvel and being Peggy Carter, and Captain Carter as well, I'm hoping she comes back to the MCU as Captain Carter, because I think she gives a great action performance in this. She shows that she is an action star.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's interesting because obviously, I think Tom Cruise was about 30 years old when he did the first Mission Impossible movie, which means Hayley Atwell...
96 it was, yeah.
Yeah, so Hayley Atwell was like still almost 20 years younger than he did his first Mission Impossible. So if they let's say did a spin-off of the Mission Impossible franchise, I'd be down for seeing her in like a spin-off. I think she gives a great performance for the role she has in the movie.
Yeah.
Christopher McQuarrie, as just reading on Twitter, Wiki here, described her as a destructive force of nature. She really does do a lot in this movie, which does cause a lot of concern. So obviously, we have other characters: Ving Rhames as Luther Stickle and Simon Pegg as
Mantis.
as Benji Dunn coming back for the films, and Rebecca Ferguson as Elsa Faust. Obviously, these characters were in the previous movie. She was in Fallout, Rogue Nation, Fallout, the others early movies. How did you find these characters in the movie?
I mean, Simon Pegg's always great, so always want to see more Simon Pegg. To be fair, I do feel and actually thinking it back, I do feel there could have been a little bit more Simon Pegg. There were some great scenes with him, but I feel with some of the previous films maybe had some better scenes. I'm thinking the start of Ghost Protocol, where Simon and Pegg's character and Tom Cruise infiltrate the Kremlin. That's a fantastic double act kind of scene. But generally, of course, he's great. Ving Rhames. Oh yeah, Ving Rhames. Great to see him back in a basically full. In a much more extended role than before. He's mainly been cameos in the last few films, so it's good to see him have like a bigger part again.
I would say that, but also I think this film, some interesting things are going to happen with him in this film going forward, which I will talk about in the spoiler section. I think he's going to be a pivotal part of the films going forward. Him and Simon Pegg's character. I do think that Rebecca Ferguson as Elsa Faust.
Yeah, I mean, she's always great. I do like the character. So, yeah, what do you think?
So I think like she does give a good performance there for how long she is in the movie, because a lot of these characters aren't in the movie long in the movies you expected. It is primarily a Tom Cruise, Haley Atwell movie, really. It's
Yeah,
it's Ethan Hunt and Grace's movie, and the other characters are in the movie, but they're not as prominent as the other ones. I do think Simon Pegg is probably the only other character in the movie apart from the villains who does have the most prominent,
yeah,
and also he has some funny sequences in this movie, to be honest, and
that's true.
he also has a very pivotal role in like how the final train sequence goes. We've all seen it in the trailers and everything. So yeah, but we're not going to go into that too much. But for Rebecca Ferguson, for how much she's in it, I do think she does give a great performance, to be honest.
Yep.
Obviously, we have the return of Vanessa Kirby as Alana Mitsopolis, the Black Arms dealer.
Yeah, she's always great, I think.
I mean, there is. I know she's going to be in the new Napoleon movie coming out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I believe she's going to be Napoleon's wife, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing her like go from Mission Impossible to a historic movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, she is always great, as you said. But Esai Morales as Gabriel.
Oh yeah, he was good. He was a main villain. He was really good. Yeah.
So any more on him at all, or is it like?
Oh, I'm looking forward. I'm definitely looking forward to. Yeah, I mean he was good. But it's not. It's not. It's hard to talk too much about giving away spoilers.
Yeah, I think his character will have to leave for the spoiler section. The same as Pum Clementine, good old Mantis
Yes,
from
yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yep.
as Paris.
It's good to see her in something else. So.
Yeah, it's.
So I
definitely
don't see her in the MCU. So.
I'm wondering if she'll be in the DCU. A lot of people were actually kind of hoping for her to be Lois Lane,
Really?
because Lois Lane in some iterations has been Asian.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, it's not that which is my surprise. I just kind of like, I don't know. I just don't necessarily. I just didn't really see her as that character.
Okay.
But doesn't necessarily mean that couldn't work. It's just not a name that would immediately come to my
I
mind.
mean, Asai Morales for me, I think he was a great villain. We can't really talk about it until the spoiler section, but when it does come to that, he was one of the main villains in the Titans TV show. He was Deathstroke.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he did a good portrayal of Deathstroke in that
Yeah.
show. Compared to Manu Bennett from the Arrowverse.
Yes, yeah,
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how it goes forward going into part 2 with him, because I think we can say that essentially, because
Yeah.
it's a 2-part movie. The villain's probably not going to die in the first part.
That was one of the things I was trying to hold off saying, but okay.
No, I think we can say that, because I think he is advertised for both parts as well.
Okay.
So yeah. Also interesting. So Paris. Clementine's character shares the same name as Leonard Nimoy's character from the original Mission Impossible TV series.
I didn't know Leonard Nimoy was in that, and I didn't. So
No, I didn't either.
It's a nice little Easter egg.
Obviously, bringing back the character of Eugene Kittredge, who was in the first Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
See, that's why I was really hoping this was the conclusion to the franchise, because
Yeah.
if you are literally looping back to this, because there's a scene in this film between Ethan Hunt and Kittredge, which we won't go into too many spoilers, which does almost mirror the first Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah. Oh, it was. I mean, I kept myself spoiler free for this, and it's definitely was different from what I built up in my head. What I kind of thought it might be, considering it was going to be wrapping up the series.
Yeah. So let's come off that now. So obviously we talk about the actors. Obviously we've spoken about a little about the stunts, but the stunt work in this movie is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
How did you find it?
Stunt work is always great. I mean, they always keep one-upping themselves during every production of Mission Impossible. So I would say top-notch stunt work. I mean, so it's action the whole way through. You've got a really entertaining car chase sequence, which is a little different from previous chase sequences, or at least there's a unique angle to it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, it's in the trailers. The very tiny car is in the trailers, so we do get to see that. But how that does play out, I do definitely agree with you. It's
cool.
definitely unique in how they approach that. The one thing I do love about this film, very little CGI. Well, for what CGI is in the movie, like
Yes.
a lot of practical. Like we don't see a lot of practical effects or practical stunt work anymore.
Apart from near the end, that felt quite CGI to me.
I mean, they did have the train sequence, and I know they did throw a train off a bridge.
Well,
So I know they did do that. I don't know if maybe there was like CGI enhancements, which they do sometimes to enhance the
Yes,
situation.
yeah.
But I do love how that scene played out, and I do think, obviously, we will probably talk about the jump that everyone knows about that's been advertised. I think they should have hidden that, to be honest.
Yeah.
That jump, I think that should have been,
No, that's fair.
it was
true.
front and center for every trailer.
Yes,
and I think
yeah.
maybe there's more to it,
Yeah.
but then maybe they could have hidden it a bit more. But yeah, all round though, I think this movie is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I can't wait for part 2 in a year's time, if depending in a year's time. But hopefully we do get that, and I know Tom Cruise is actually trying to help with that as well at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, so obviously, you know, as you love it as well, do you want to give your final thought roundup and a review number?
Yeah. So balls out, action the whole way through. Doesn't very lets up pace. I did like the central villain. I did like the unique angle, villainous angle to the whole thing, which is a little bit different. Although I also understand there might be some issues with that. We'll get into it in the spoiler section. One complaint I do have is that I felt there could have been a bit more plot, a bit more story. I felt sometimes there was a little bit too much action when, after like certain action sequences midpoint, I think it needed to have a little bit of break and do a bit more plot. But otherwise, I felt the whole thing flowed really well. 2.5 hours went past really quickly, and my final score for this is going to be an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, that's good rating, man. That is a very good rating. I've noticed like the last few films and shows we've seen, we've been giving some pretty good ratings to be honest. I'm definitely with you on that. I think I do like see where you're coming from in regards to the narrative plot. I do think that when we do see part 2, that's how the narrative will come together, which I do think is a slight hindrance to me, in my opinion, because, mind you, Infinity War was the exact same. Like, that did literally have a stopping point, and that had the final part a year later. So I can't really take it against that, but I do think that
Infinity War did have some good plot stuff, like with, for instance, you have the stuff of like Thanos. There was a lot of backstory to Thanos in Infinity War, which really helped kind of like break up the action sequences and give more context to the plot and story and his motivations.
No, I completely agree. I think it was just a case of like, obviously this is part 1 and part 2. I do think like if they added a bit more depth, there is one character I want to talk about in the spoiler section who seems to be integral to the plot, but she's not really. I don't know what's going on there with her.
Fair.
We'll talk about it in the spoiler section. But yeah, I think myself, I'm going to give this an 8.5 as well. Like, I think it's been a while since we've given the exact same rating forever. So I think with the 8.5, agreeing with you, the narrative does drop it down half. I think I'm only going to drop it down half a point for that, because I think outside of that, this is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, get to the cinema while you can to watch it, because I think Tom Cruise is going to try and keep this in the cinema for a while, even though it's going up against bloody Oppenheimer and Barbie at the moment. It's been so packed at the cinema this past month. It's ridiculous.
But to be fair, I'm happy with that. I'm glad to see that. So I don't want to see cinemas die, because that was a whole conversation, wasn't it, a little while ago?
That's fair, but sometimes too much overlap is bad.
Yeah.
And that could be a cause for concern with budgets and box office and stuff like that. So that's my concern as well.
Fair.
And to be fair, I think most people have seen the Mission Impossible movie if they're going to watch it now anyway. But yeah, we're going to give that an 8.5, and
unless we want to factor in Fergus's review, we have no idea what that score is going to be, but we will always assume it is going to be a classic Fergus 6 for everything.
Well, he's not seen any of the Mission Impossible movies.
He's not, so we are going to give us 8.5.
Yeah, so we're going to give this a classic 8.5 for us. So yeah, right, people. We are now going to get into the spoiler section for the movie, and we're going to give you the pre-warning for this, and then please stick around afterwards, or please skip to the time code section if you want to go straight to the Secret Invasion review for the non-spoiler review, and then spoiler review for that, and then for our little lovely outro. So, we're going to count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoiler discussion time!
Shall we go talk about the entity, then?
Let's talk about the entity.
So, I managed to keep myself spoiler free, so I didn't actually know what the main villain in inverted commas was going to be, which turns out to be, which is revealed in the very first scene of the film. I really like that intro scene, and the main villain is in fact an AI, an artificial intelligence. So I thought, and so I saw some other people who didn't like it because of that, and I can understand their points, because it's nicer to have, you know, a human kind of like villain as opposed to what is essentially an abstract villain, essentially, which I do agree with. but counterpoint would be that I'm all for. I like the fact that it was something different. So I like the fact that it was something different. So I like that idea. I do hope to see more things that the Entity does in the second film. There was only like a couple of points where I thought the Entity was really coming into play in a good way. In particularly, the place that I liked most in terms of that would have been where the Entity starts to misdirect Tom Cruise, his character Ethan Hawke, when he's running around the streets, and that was really cool. But I would love to have seen a bit more of that.
So it did make me giggle. Then you said Ethan Hawke, and I'm like, do you mean Ethan Hunt?
Ethan
Hunt.
Ethan Hunt.
Mind you, it's a really simple way to like go back. And any more final points on the Entity?
Yeah, I liked it. No, I mean those are all my points. I just think there could have been a bit more times when it was clearly manipulating, like with the events in those streets. I think I've made my points.
I'm wondering, like, I'm surprised if the Entity could manipulate people's voices, which I thought was very clever.
Yes, yeah.
And I do love it, like, shut out the Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg's characters. I do love how that played out. My concern is, if it knows everything and is 12 steps ahead, how is Ethan Hunt going to beat an AI? That's my major concern. I'm hoping they don't come up with a dumb solution for the finale.
Same. I hope not as well. So I'm hopeful they won't. We'll see. So I know they switched to analog, didn't they, at the end of the film? So that couldn't be. So that's going to be one of the things which is going to give them an advantage, I would say.
But the thing is, though, there's too many satellites in the world. There's too many cameras in the world now, and I'm wondering, mind you, I guess, and they don't have the face tech anymore as well. So that's going to be an interesting thing. Because obviously that got destroyed, and the train, or no, just before the train.
Yes.
I did like the fact that like Gabriel's character is being controlled by the Entity.
Yes,
I did like that.
Same, yeah.
So he's literally the human analog.
He's kind of like allowing himself to be controlled by it.
Yeah, because what was that machine he was in? Like, he basically near the end of the movie, he comes out of this machine that's had like a face visor on him, and like he's in a crate possibly, and.
Okay, I can't remember actually.
Yeah, basically, yeah, they're on the train, and he comes out this thing, and the lid opens, he pulls his mask off. What the fuck was that?
I do remember it now. I'm not sure. I didn't really register it. I kind of ignored that. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I was just trying to work out what's going on there. Another character I want to talk about is also the character of Marie, a woman from Ethan and Gabriel's past. So, I don't know, like, I'm hoping, because I don't know if she's literally a plot device, because obviously, spoiler alert, people, we do lose Rebecca Ferguson in this movie. She defends Hayley Atwell's character, and she does die, which I thought was a great badass exit for her. I do love a strong woman who, shows how badass she is, but also doesn't have like a weak exit. She goes out like a proper fighter.
Right, yeah.
And I was kind of concerned with Hayley Atwell's character at one point, but. Yeah, I'm wondering with this Marie character if that's going to come back in the next one. Also, did they de-age the CGI de-age like the characters in that sequence? Because I heard.
It certainly looked like. Gabriel's character was de-aged, certainly.
Yeah, because I know there was a conversation about actually having a sequence at the start of the movie set in 1989 with a de-aged Tom Cruise.
Oh, okay.
So
it's a very brief kind of like clip. We don't really see it in depth.
So you recently rewatched the movies, if I'm correct?
No.
Okay, so
but I love Mission Impossible movies. I've seen most of them at least twice.
So the sequence with Rebecca's character, like when she goes to die, and Ethan running through like the narrow alleyways in the silhouette of him, that was almost a one-for-one shot of the first film, if I'm correct. When that person gets killed at the beginning in the fence, and he's running through the alleyways to try and get there and everything.
I can't. It's been a long time since I've seen the first film. Long time.
I mean, I do think that's like I do love how they're making parallels to the first movie. I do like also how they're talking about how you do get into the IMF and what happens to you in regard to that, and Ethan's backstory there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's going to be some sort of deeper level of connection between Ethan and Gabriel.
Yeah.
Because there's a level of betrayal there that sort of goes like a whole other level to me.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how it's going to play out. I did like the sequence with Carrie Ellis.
Okay, and who's that?
He is the character of. He was the director of the military. Carrie Ellis. I'm just going to bring up a patch. Elwes.
Oh, right, that guy, the politician.
I kind of guessed he was going to be like the betrayer. I'm not going to lie, a little bit like.
Yeah.
Because Kittredge was too on the nose to be the betrayer.
That's true. Yeah.
But I do like the fact that like when Ethan came into the scene with those gas bombs, which was fucking
That was a great scene.
badass.
That was a
like,
great scene. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously that was the scene I was talking about, the parallel
I
talk.
thought it was. Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing that scene in the trailers, and that's why I kind of like. I built up my own story in my head as what it was based upon that scene, and I thought it would be a lot more. I thought it would be a lot more to do with his past than there was.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So obviously, that final train sequence supposedly is much longer in the unedited version of the movie, and there's rumors they might release a longer version of the movie with that. I did love the car. I did love the driving through Paris sequence though.
Yeah, with handcuffs and they handcuffed, but in the wrong way, which makes it awkward to drive. Which was that was a little bit I was hinting at. So which made it kind of like unique to as a driving sequence.
And I do love the fact that second time this year we've had a Paris drive out, like
John
Wick 4.
John Wick, yeah, absolutely. So apparently if you want a good car chase, film in Paris.
And make sure you drive a tiny car.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how it's going to play out. I do like how Clementive's character, she is an absolute badass fighting in that movie.
Yeah.
Like, especially when she goes out at the end and the entity knew that she was going to betray. Like,
yeah, it's kind of an interesting character. I mean, obviously, it starts off almost Joker-esque in my mind, just in that car sequence, just literally just out for mayhem, but then ends up saving Ethan Hunt.
Yeah, not Hawk Hunt. Let's talk about it briefly because we didn't talk about it in the actual conversation. But Shea Wiggum and Greg Tarzan Davies as Jasper, Briggs, and Degas. So obviously these are the CIA agents tracking down. I knew they were gonna like sort of like not completely go onto Ethan's side at the end, but because obviously Degas is constantly like questioning, what if Ethan's right? Because the whole point of this movie, people, is basically the US is trying to get power over this. Basically, there's a skeleton key which gives you control of the AI, the entity.
Yeah.
And there's a great sequence at the beginning with the submarine and like the manipulation of it, which I did kind of guess would happen because like when you activate an AI, it's going to betray you very early on. Like.
Yes. Okay. So that's why we don't want AI.
Yeah, conversations there possibly, but no. And James Cameron has been telling us since the early 80s, do not fuck with AI.
That's true. That is true.
And he's actually been saying that very recently as well. Again, like I fucking told you, I told you. But no, I do love their characters, and I do love how they are trying to get Ethan the entire time. But it was even at the end, they do have like a very very slight begrudging respect for Ethan, like because obviously he saves most people's lives and everything, and they can see that he's not. Trying to put the situation into his like advantage. He's just trying to get the job done. Yeah, that's his job. How did you find both of them?
I liked it. I mean, I kind of. Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy that aspect of it. I'm interested to see how that develops in the second one because it kind of like it still kind of left it in the same dynamic where, where one of them is still anti Ethan. And the other one is kind of like still questioning whether whether Ethan is actually doing the right thing. So it'd be interesting to see how that dynamic goes. They're kind of like a spoiler really for what Ethan was doing. They kind of, I suppose, was there comedy with them? I think it was comic moments when they were with Ethan. I think there were. Because what I was about to say is maybe it reminds me a little bit of Ghost Protocol. I think it's Ghost Protocol, it might not be. No, it's Rogue Nation. That's one, sorry. It's Rogue Nation that reminds me of, which is... No, it's not. No, it's Ghost Protocol.
Too many bloody... Ghost Protocols is the Dubai one, isn't it?
Ghost Protocol's for the Dubai one, but Ghost Protocol does start with the Kremlin. Yeah, so it is Ghost Protocol I'm thinking of. I was right first time, don't doubt myself. Where you have the Russian agent hunting down Ethan because he thinks he's responsible for the a terrorist incident on the Kremlin. So that's it reminded me of that dynamic, but with maybe a bit more comedy.
Yeah, no,
But-
I completely agree there. Yeah. So obviously, going in, how do you think Ethan might destroy the entity? Obviously, well, actually, no. Let's get into a quick point. I forgot to mention Ving Rhames' character. I said how he's going to be pivotal.
Yes.
Like, I do love the fact he's like, I'm going completely off the fucking grid. You will not hear from me. He is going to use an offline laptop to find the single line of code. Because I think there is a thing like, if you could find a control line of code, like you could break the system.
Yes.
And I do love the fact that, you know, his character portrays such an intelligent character, and he's going to be very pivotal to the final sequence. My concern is, could his character die in the next one to give Ethan the information? I don't want that, because I love
right,
Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, and Ethan, and like Tom Cruise together.
So,
And because Ving Rhames has been in it since the second one, and Simon Pegg's the third one, so they've been
I thought he'd been in since the first one thing.
Ving Rhames.
Can we double
Oh no,
check?
sorry, yeah, he was in Mission Impossible 1. Yeah, oh yeah, because he was the one.
I can say he was the main character in that. Don't doubt my knowledge of Mission Impossible.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry.
Okay, no, I'm not going to go into for that, but no, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I do love how Benji gets manipulated in the airport with the nuclear bomb. That was a tense sequence, and
That was, although that kind of brings me on to one of the things that was a little bit kind of like iffy with the whole thing, which is the kind of like coincidental kind of like moment. So it's like which feels slightly implausible, but you have to suspend your disbelief. It's a Mission Impossible film, so I'm okay to suspend my disbelief in little moments. I think that was one of them. I didn't mind that. It's them trying to show that the entity, knows kind of like can predict what's going to happen and how to manipulate everything.
but it wasn't the entity, was it?
I think it was.
No, I believe it was. I'm going to quickly look at the plot here. Quickly, finds it was empty. I'm now confused. Pursues. I thought it was to do with Grace in the end.
Oh, was it?
Like, I think like it was like Grace placed something.
But Grace was working with the entity.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, so obviously it's both sequences. But I did love that 10 sequence, because I thought they're not going to blow up Abu Dhabi International Airport. Jesus Christ, that's not going to happen.
No, I was curious to know what did. And I was curious to know how it was going to play out. It was quite a tense sequence, but interesting.
But yeah, no, I do also love how, the point of this movie is sometimes going against the entity, like not killing Gabriel's character was like a driving force of this movie, and I do like how that played out on the top of the train.
Yeah,
I do love the fight sequence for that. It's weird how a lot of these Mission Impossible movies fight on top of a train at the end of the movie.
that's true. Again, it's another nod back to the first film. That
and luckily no helicopters this time.
Yeah. I want to just quickly loop back to finish up my point about coincidences. The one coincidence which I did remember seeing in the film, which was like, yeah, okay, this is a comedic moment, but this is so fucking implausible. I mean, again, Mission Impossible, okay, it's going to be implausible, but still, it's just when an implausible, it's got to have an air of vague plausibility. And for me, it was a point where they're on the train, they're pointing guns at, I think it was at Grace, who had the key at that point, and then at that precise moment when they're about to fire, Tom Cruise smashes through the precise window to knock the precise gunman down through the window with his parachute on a train that is moving at super high speed. That coincidence kind of that's the only point that's the main point in the film for me, where I saw that and I was like, really?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of liked it. It was so sudden. It was like, okay, it was funny. I think that was mainly down for a comedic tone, really, and I think that's why I liked that sequence, to be honest. But do you have any? I think that's pretty much all we can really say. I'm just wondering how it's gonna play out in the next one, like how he's gonna defeat the entity, what's gonna happen, how they're gonna get onto the sub.
That's one true. Thing. So I've got no idea where it's going to end, how it's going to end, which will be interesting. I imagine there might be more. Cause I do wonder if at some point, now we've got the key, I imagine there might be more kind of like threats from other countries, because everybody's now out to get that key, or should be.
Could we have a John Wick situation?
Could be where they're trying to hunt him down. Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously everyone's after him in the fourth movie.
Or can we shelve John Wick 5? Also shelve Dead Reckoning Part 2, and combine it to be Mission Impossible, John Wick.
I'm sorry, but there's nothing impossible for John Wick because he does things in that final fucking movie that we discussed. Go listen to our review, people.
But my plot would be let's have John Wick try and take down, be hard to try and take down Ethan. Maybe the entity has framed Ethan for killing another dog of John Wick's.
Ooh, that'd be kind of fucked up, to be honest. But no, anyway, right. I think we're going to leave it there, though.
Yeah, so it's starting to go to a bit of craziness.
Yeah, so obviously, people, that was our spoiler discussion. Obviously, we like to have a little bit of a 1 minute conversation, maybe under a 1 minute conversation before we get into our Secret Invasion conversation. So, yeah. And now, people, you are going to be joining us for our Secret Invasion review and spoiler discussion. So, I think, instead of having a mini conversation, I think we're going to get straight to it. So, James, give us your initial thoughts of now they've fun fact, they've put season finale, not series finale, on Disney Plus, which is interesting to me.
Okay, what's the difference?
Well, series finale is obviously limited series, stuff, limited series finale, but season finale could implicate there could be more.
Okay.
But because I think as we get into the spoiler section, there is definitely more to discuss here.
I'd be up for another season.
But what are your initial impressions of the show?
So just to clarify, spoilers or non-spoilers?
This is non-spoiler now.
Non-spoilers. So, I personally... okay. So the show was different from what I expected going into the show. It didn't... I was aware of the comics, never read the comics, but I was aware that the comics changed quite a lot. And it was a bit of a gear shift. And this show wasn't that. It was quite safe. Comparatively, so that was so surprising. That's maybe a slight criticism because it was different from what I was expecting on that front. But I did enjoy it overall. So it could have been a bit better. I think it could have been some improvement, but it was basically a spy thriller, and I do love a spy thriller. So I did enjoy it. Overall, I did enjoy it.
Yeah, no, so my initial impressions of the show, so I think I'm going to be a little bit more, cooler on it than you. I do think Secret Invasion has an issue that a lot of the Marvel shows have to me, is that the fact that the pacing is a bit off to me.
Yeah.
And I think that could have been rectified by possibly cutting the show down to maybe 4 episodes, I think, because I think the final episode is quite short, it's 30 minutes long, but most of the MCU shows have this, MCU shows have this, to be honest. I think one of the exceptions to me is Falcon Winter Soldier. I did quite like the finale for that show quite a bit, to be honest, and because I think it was a good pace and everything. But I don't get me wrong, I really did enjoy this show.
Yeah.
I do just think the pacing could have been adjusted a little bit, and because I think Samuel L. Jackson's character Nick Fury coming back to this, he's a broken man in this. He is a broken man.
I liked that actually. I like that portrayal, that difference, because last time we saw him, I can't remember when it would have been.
It was
ago,
it was after Endgame. It was Endgame, I believe. No. Sorry, it was Spider-Man Homecoming, because he was on the ship, wasn't he?
Kind of ish. Yeah, well, okay, yeah, that's true. But for the last time we properly seen him has been a long time ago. To be fair, so, but yeah, because we know Nick Fury's being this, and he's hyped up to be this really good, really big presence, this big kind of genius kind of spy, but he is grizzled, jaded, and kind of broken. I liked that. I thought that was different. That was different from what I was expecting. I enjoyed that.
One question I have to you is: this is a this is supposedly over a $200 million show.
Yeah.
Does that show to you?
I suppose it depends on how much. I don't know. In terms of what CGI and stuff, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's some big CGI sequences towards the end. That's what with Marvel shows, anyways. But it's a little hard for me to tell, so I don't really know how much stuff costs.
I do think that maybe this did suffer. Obviously, I think the show did suffer from a lot. Which, to be fair, I think a lot of Marvel and also a lot of stuff for journalists suffering from it. It was filmed during COVID.
Oh, okay, I didn't realise that.
Yeah, so maybe the funding went to precautionary measures, filming in certain sections. So I know a lot of this was filmed in the UK, which I thought was great. I I believe certain parts of the UK were shown as Russia. Like I don't think they actually went to Russia for filming for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love the fact that they brought other characters back for this. Obviously, Ben Mendelsohn as Talos.
Yeah.
When he's in it, he's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just love his Australian accent. I think it's great to have a Skrull with that. Obviously, the last time we saw him was ironically in Homecoming as well,
right? Yeah,
where he played Nick Fury. Weirdly enough, yeah, with Samuel Jackson's character, though, I definitely agree with you. I do love the fact that he's come back and he is this broken man, and he's. The reason he has come back this is a situation he has to personally deal with. It's not Call the Avengers type movie because there are reasons for that.
Yep.
It's literally a case of he needs to get the shit done, and his story going into this movie I do think gets a bit rushed towards the end, but I do think I do love how his character shows how his strengths, and even though people might think he is broken and not useful anymore,
past it kind of thing. Yeah,
he still proves don't fuck with the motherfucking Samuel L. Jackson. Or sorry, Nick Fury.
That's true. Yeah.
I kind of wish we got a motherfucker though in the show.
Yeah,
because we've already had fuck once.
You're right. If Guardians can do it, it should be open up floodgates for more fucking.
I do love the fact that Chris Pratt commented on the fact that he's the first person to say "fuck" in the MCU and not Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay, yeah.
But I would have loved to have actually heard that in the show, and that's not really spoiling people. But we'll, anyway. Obviously, we have the introduction of Kingsley Ben Adir as Gravik, the main villain. How did you feel about him?
Sorry, what was his name again?
Kingsley Ben Adir as Gravik.
It's an interesting name. I thought it's Ben. Is he stealing Ben Kingsley's name and kind of moving around? Okay.
He's actually got a very popular year, by the way, because he's in Barbie as a Ken.
Oh, okay.
This, and he's playing Bob Marley in the Bob Marley biopic.
Oh, well, nice.
Yeah.
But I mean, in all seriousness, I thought I actually did like this actor. I thought he was really good as a villain. So he does the aggression really well, but also kind of like. He starts off as being this person all in charge and control and kind of a counterpoint to basically Fury because he's been doing stuff with subterfuge, creating all these helping infiltrate various things in the world.
Yeah.
And then as the show goes on, he gets more and more erratic and things change, and he showed that aspect of him well, showed that transition well.
The one thing I like about his character, which I do think he does do a good portrayal of, is he's not like one of these sympathetic villains we got a lot in Marvel recently. He is just a straight up villain.
That is true.
You are meant to not like this character from the get go. Really, he has.
It's the weird thing to explain his motivations, but you are absolutely right. Though he's not. Yeah.
He's a Hans Gruber type character.
Although Hans Gruber is S tier in terms of
of course, yeah,
of villains.
But I mean, you get villains in a lot of movies who you just don't like, or they're not meant to have a sympathetic side, or they're not. Well, there is one point in this show where you could go, okay, I could kind of see Gravik's point to a point, and then he does something, you're like, nah, fuck this guy. Yeah. No, hell no, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Kingsley gave a great performance in this show. Going on to Emilia Clarke as Gaia. How did you feel about her introduction to the MC? Well, actually, sorry. Emilia Clarke's introduction as Gaia, but not Gaia's first introduction into the MCU, because Gaia is in Captain Marvel as the girl that plays with the Photon character. Yes. So, but it's Emilia Clarke's first portrayal in the MCU.
Okay. Yeah, no, I did enjoy that. It was it's an interesting story arc for that character. So.
Yeah, no, I think she definitely has an interesting story. Like, I think she could have been in it a bit more.
Yeah.
Like I do feel she does disappear quite a lot.
Halfway through, kind of like dropped off.
Yeah, she disappeared quite a bit, and I think for being such a central character, I do think she should have been in it more, especially only for 6 episodes. I think there are some characters which I can understand. They're not in it for that long, but I do think she was quite integral to the plot, and I think. That was one of my critiques that she wasn't in it as much, which I would have quite liked, to be honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So going on a bit more, I do want to talk about Don Cheadle and Olivia Colman.
Yes, I was waiting for you to say that. So I don't want to if you agree with me, but I thought Olivia Colman was a standout in Secret Invasion.
100% agree, and I'm hoping so much that we get to see much more of her going forwards.
Yeah.
I think we'll discuss it in the spoiler section, but I definitely think she's going to be integral to a certain section of the MCU going forward.
So I absolutely loved that character, and I thought she played it absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, and Olivia Colman, whatever she's in, she's
She is
absolutely
really
stunning.
good. It's amazing seeing her from go from Peep Show
And the
and
Queen.
Ritual and Web, yeah, to being this big star. But well deserved. She's absolutely phenomenal.
I mean, I just
in
rewatched
this
Hot Fuzz
anyways.
recently,
Yeah.
and you forget she's in that as the female police
Yeah,
officer.
because I mean because she was in all of kind of like Mitchell and Webb's shows originally, so
Yeah.
back in the day. So yeah,
Don Cheadle though as Rhodes.
yeah, with it was interesting to see this character back. It's a character which is often in a more smaller role within the MCU films, but he had much more screen time this time.
I definitely think Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3 were his biggest supporting roles. And I do think Iron Man 3 specifically shows him become more of his own character and then going towards Endgame and everything. Obviously, he is getting his Armor Wars, and that's now been turned into a movie. It was going to be a show.
Okay.
And I think, obviously, they have said that Armor Wars does follow directly on from this.
That's interesting. Man.
And I think, a lot of these characters we can't really talk about until the spoiler section, really, to be honest.
That's true.
So I think, we could talk about one final character, Charlene Woodard as Vara or Priscilla Davis.
Oh yeah, that was another good character, which a character,
badass as well.
A character I wasn't expecting, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these characters we can't really talk about until this spoiler section. I do again. I've spoke briefly about the runtime for the show. I was kind of hoping for 8 episodes and maybe 4 episodes. I think it should either they could have added a bit or they could have subtracted it or they could have condensed it a bit, in my opinion. And I did love the cinematography. I think it's. The MCU shows and the films have had a bit of a cinematography issue, in my opinion. Whereas this does feel like there wasn't a lot of what's the visual effect called?
I don't know what VFX.
The Unreal. I can't remember what it's called now, but anyway.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, it's not the motion. It's not people. If you know what I'm on about, people. I keep saying it for forever, but basically, a lot of this was practical. A lot of it was in person and everything, and there's an entire
CGI?
sequence in the beginning. What's that?
CGI?
No. I'm gonna have to Google this, people. Unreal CGI screen movie. The volume. That's it. So the volume has been used for a lot of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania heavy utilized that technology.
Nice.
And I do think this show, the cinematography wise, it's an excellent shot show.
Yeah.
I do think how that plays out. I don't know, it's really weird because for a show called Secret Invasion, we can't really talk about much until the spoiler section, to be honest. But
yeah, because it's a sequel.
So what we'll do is, people, we'll yeah, exactly, it's a secret. What we'll do is we'll give a final thoughts, give our scores, and then we'll wrap it up there and we'll go into our spoiler section. We'll probably have a little tiny bit of a longer spoiler section, but yeah. So do you want to give your final thoughts, James?
So I didn't mind the shorter length episodes, to be fair, and I actually did really like the last episode. I liked where it went, and I also like the spy kind of for kind of genre. I actually kind of like the fact that it was less superhero-ness, at least especially at least in the first few episodes. So that kind of, there's part of me starting to tire of superhero drama, to be fair, because it's been quite oversaturated. But I did enjoy my time watching this. I wouldn't say I necessarily loved it. It wasn't as good as I was expecting or hoping, but I still enjoyed it. So I'm going to give this a 7.
Yeah, no, I that's completely fair. So I think I'm generally stuck. I'm almost stuck at a Fergus 6, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to give it a 6.57 myself, because I do think there is great narrative plot points here, but I do think it's hindered by the pacing.
Yeah.
I think the pacing was a big concern for me, and there's some things I'm going to talk about in the spoiler section specifically, which I think play into that a little bit more, and also specific characters going forward. But yeah, I think I'm going to give this a 7 as well, to be honest. So we're going to give this a 7 at NMI, and so obviously now I think we're going to get into the spoiler section for this, and we're going to pre-warn you, people. We're going to pre-warn you that we're going to go into spoiler section in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I knew Rhodes was a squirrel from the beginning.
I I'm a little bit annoyed about that one actually, and it's not got nothing to do with the series because I didn't after the episode he was introduced, and I wouldn't have been expecting it, but I accidentally saw a thumbnail of a YouTube video on my YouTube channel
I
saying
hate those so fucking much.
saying, "Hey, Rose is probably going to be a Skrull." It's like, well, for fuck's sake! I didn't even click on the freaking video, and I mean, that's one thing. Slight tangent, but seriously, YouTube channels. If you're going to have spoilers in your video, fine. Don't have spoilers in your thumbnail. Don't have spoilers in your title, please.
No, well, people do that for clicks, really. Like, I got spoiled by a couple of Ant-Man Quantumania because of YouTube did that, and I didn't want to see it. It's just the algorithm, because I'd seen so much behind-the-scenes footage for it, it just did that. So the reason I think I knew, well, for one, Don Cheadle was acting very strange from the get-go. Like, his character of, like, firing Fury and everything, and that's not a Rhodes thing. He sticks by his team, but also he's the only Avenger that's in this show.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think that's the link to, as we discussed with the Secret Invasion comic books, this is completely different from, like, it takes the very basic premise of Skrulls taking over bodies and everything, which I did love the concept of, and how there's a lot more fucking Skrulls on this planet than we realize, like over 1 million of them.
Yeah.
And I do love the fact that, you know, even though Fury told the president that he was essentially, the president was saved by a Skrull.
Yeah.
That was the one issue I did have. Talos' death was very, oh, okay, it's done. Talos is dead.
Yeah,
that's it.
True. Yeah.
And there was no, like, I'm sorry, but if you're going to kill such a prominent character and the president is just going to forget that, that was kind of frustrating to me.
Yeah, there could have been dressed perhaps a little bit better. I didn't mind the president going that direction, but I do agree that there could have been a bit more.
He could have been manipulated a bit more into, like, saying, like, oh, maybe he was, like, you know, trying to take you out himself and everything. And
maybe there could have been a bit more depth to the character, so you understand why he doesn't take the fact that, or doesn't recognise the fact that Talos saved him more.
I do like the fact that Fury says that's one president turn president shit right there.
That was a good line.
Yeah, it's interesting with the president, to be honest. But with Rhodes' character, a lot of people are having conversations about this. When was Rhodes taken by the Skrulls? Because there's two options, there's two choices, right?
Yeah.
Basically, it could have been Civil War, because the last time we saw Rhodes in a nurse robe, was in the end of Civil War, or it's Endgame, because he still had his robot legs. But in Falcon Winter Soldier, he doesn't have the mechanical leg support anymore, which means he would have been taken over by that point.
Okay, that's interesting.
So the two questions are, though, if it was Civil War, that would mean he doesn't know that Tony's dead.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah.
But if it's Endgame, he would know.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, are they going to go the Civil War route to create that extra? Because basically the whole premise of Armor Wars supposedly is Tony's tech has got out in the world and it's Rhodey's job to get it back.
Right.
Which I love the concept of.
Yeah.
It's Rhodey's film. It's, you know, and I'm wondering if it's going to be his legacy of trying to protect Tony's legacy.
Yeah.
And him realizing, like, he's passed away, and he's trying to protect Tony's legacy because he wasn't there for, like, to see Tony die.
And that would be interesting. It also kind of like would change Endgame a little bit, wouldn't it?
Because he doesn't. He doesn't really interact with Tony that much in Endgame. He pulls Peter away. He's teary a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember him. What's when he had a cameo? I'm trying to remember.
Basically, it's when Tony's sitting down there. Peter, it's Peter, Pepper, and Piper. No, and Rhodes. I knew you were going to try and make that joke yourself, but
Peter, Piper, Peter, Pepper.
Yeah, and Rhodes. Those are the three characters that are there. And Rhodey is teary-eyed a little bit, but he isn't as emotional as you know, as the other lot and everything, which also, I mean, I don't have as much faith in the MCU. I mean, I like the MCU, but if they did plan this far ahead and that was like, and these were intentional choices for that, great. But even if it wasn't, and they smartly wrote it to do that, and I think that would be a great way to go about it.
There have been aspects of the MCU, and I'm being a little bit negative at times. There are aspects of MCU that I do love and I think have been great. As I say earlier, I think I'm starting to get a little bit of superhero fatigue, but I do think the fact that I'm still watching it means there's still things that I really do like about the shows. So
I mean, the next one is Loki season 2, I believe.
yeah,
I believe yeah, that's the next show we have.
I did enjoy the first one.
Yeah, I enjoyed Loki season 1. With the pacing, as I discussed earlier, I was a bit annoyed that we didn't get Old Fury till literally the last episode, and even then, it was hardly any of Old Fury.
Right, yeah.
Like, it was literally, he's put the eye patch on, he's got his gun back.
I see.
Then the next episode is 30 minutes, and it's not even really Fury. Yeah. He's only in it very briefly, then he leaves.
Yeah, I suppose it could have gone into more. I mean, you're right. They could have had more screen time and gone into a bit more depth on that aspect. Although I still liked the plan at the end. I liked his plan. I thought that was smart.
I do think it was interesting because I was like, why? Because obviously it was actually Gaia in the chamber as well. I was like, why would Fury be inside the chamber as well? Would that not kill him? But then I was like, oh, they planned this shit. Okay, that's quite smart actually to make her Super Skrull as well. Let's get on to the Super Skrulls.
Yeah.
I do like how originally they used Groot, like Black Obsidian, because obviously they can't use the Fantastic Four, which were the original Super Skrulls. So Groot is stretching, the Black Obsidian is the thing, and all that stuff. But I don't like how they had all the Avengers DNA.
Okay.
Because it makes them overpowered.
That's true. Obviously, I like the idea that Nick Fury was harvesting all the Avengers' DNA. I like that idea.
But isn't Carol Danvers' powers from an Infinity Stone, not her blood?
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, but
comic book mumbo jumbo.
But I'm hoping that Gaia, because Gaia is technically the most powerful character in the MCU now.
Yeah.
I hope they depower that in going forward. I hope maybe she keeps some of the abilities, but she loses the Captain Marvel power, because if you have the same strength as Captain Marvel...
I mean, I want to see... I love the setup at the end, again, with Olivia Colman's character.
We're going to come back to her, definitely now, yeah.
Yeah. I love the way it was set up where Guy's going to be working with Olivia Colman's character. Olivia Colman's character being... Well, it's for spoilers, actually, so you know. Being... an agent for MI6, I believe.
Yes, no, and Sonya Falsworth, we see a proper torture sequence in this show. With that torture sequence is brilliant, and I love how she. Have you seen the Harry Potter movies?
Yes, I have. Yep.
She reminds me of Dolores.
Dolores Umbridge.
Yeah.
I do.
She has a peppy attitude.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
And she dresses a bit like her as well, but I do love how that played out, and I do think how we have Black Knight coming into the MCU. He was in Eternals. Right. That was Kit Harington's character.
Oh, okay,
and he's a British agent.
Not John Cleese's character.
No. He's a British agent, the British. Well, also there's rumours. I'm hoping it's true that we're going to get Captain Britain.
Okay.
But he's actually more linked to Arthurian lore. So he has Arthurian powers, which I quite like that. Basically the MCU's, the comic book version of the British superheroes are more magical based.
Okay.
Which I quite like the idea of a lot more magic based and everything. Yeah. And having maybe Sonya Falsworth as the Nick Fury of the British Avengers, essentially. I like that idea going forward. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't know. It remains to be seen for me. I want to know. I'm not sure. There's a little part of me, and I was kind of thinking about this when I started watching Secret Invasion anyways. There was a little part of me which was always going to be, which was I'm probably going to take a hiatus from the MCU franchise after Secret Invasion. I mean, my hope going into Secret Invasion was that it was going to be have a bit more big changes to the MCU, and that might kickstart reignite my interest, because now we've had some big revelations. Didn't really happen like that. It was more maintaining the status quo.
I was kind of hoping for maybe a bigger reveal from the Skrulls, even the president was a Skrull. Right. I thought that would have been a higher level of a reveal, or Olivia Colman was a Skrull herself.
I would have hated that. Olivia Colman's too good a character as an MI6 as an MI6 agent. I would not have liked that.
Did you expect to see any of the other Avengers though in the final episode?
I expected to see potentially. I'd hoped to see going into the show at the start of the show. I was expecting for at least one
Of the major Avengers.
One of the major Avengers to be revealed as
Even Hawkeye, possibly.
Yeah.
I think Hawkeye probably would have been there.
That. Yeah, I mean, any of that could have worked. It also depends on how you handle it. But if it didn't necessarily need to be an evil Avenger, hey, they could have an evil Skrull. They could have been one of the good Skrulls.
Yeah.
But still having that kind of reveal would have been better. Was what I was expecting because of the comic source material it was adapting.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, and I do think going forward, like how Secret Invasion is going to play out going forward. Like, is there going to be like a whole Skrull like narrative going forward as well? I'm kind of hoping there is. Like, with Emilia Clarke's character, they're obviously going to keep bringing her back for something big later on.
Yeah.
There was something on the tip of my tongue actually in regards to. Like, oh yes, that's it. One character we didn't speak about because we couldn't really talk about her.
Is it going to be Kobe Smulders' character? Yeah.
I was kind of pissed off at that. I'm not gonna lie.
I remember you saying to me actually that. Did she not like saying like a Twitter or something that Secret Invasion was going to reveal a lot more behind her character?
Yeah, and she was
and
I love the subterfuge of that, and also Martin Freeman as Everett K. Ross.
Yeah,
heavily advertised in the trailers as well, and
I didn't know that.
He was a Skrull.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that like maybe Kobe Smart. Did you ever watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Nope.
So, but obviously you knew that. Like,
I knew what it is. Now.
I was kind of hoping that she had the Coulson route and everything because I
I
really liked her character. She's been in it since like the Avengers and everything, and she was very prominent in Spider-Man: Homecoming as well.
Yeah.
I think she was in Far From Home. She was in Far From Home as well. I really wish her character would have stuck around more. And also Maria Hill is a very prominent MCU character because she actually takes over like Sword and Shield at one point.
Okay.
And it really did frustrate me that her character died.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm kind of hoping they could.
I suppose we need to have some kind of major kind of like changes, like seismic shifts.
I do like the shock of it, like the fact that it wasn't Fury, and also the fact that the last thing she saw was Fury shooting her, which I thought was very fucked up, and also, like, I do like how that played out. It showed that the aspect of like Gravik's character, he's a fucking arsehole from the get go.
Yeah.
Like, I do love the fact that one thing we haven't spoken about really. The only reason Fury is as big as he is because of the Skrulls.
Yes.
That's the only reason how powerful he is because of the Skrulls.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about like Fury not being? He's intelligent as fuck.
Yeah.
But to get to the point he needed the Skrulls.
I mean, I didn't mind that. I suppose it gives a bit more background. I don't think every character needs to be overpowered, especially someone like Nick Fury who doesn't have superpowers. So I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that. I was okay with that as a justification.
I don't know. I think Fury's always been like a badass character to me, and it kind of downplays him a little bit. The fact that he's always going to have a network out there, which I do like the fact they did that. And someone believes that they actually seen when the Avengers compound is getting sorted in Endgame, that they do think they saw basically. Sorry, my PC went off then for a second. People, make sure that you don't have that pinging. But basically, with the Avengers compound, they believe they did see all the blood getting taken away in the actual Avengers movie. Yeah. Like, at the end, like, you see a helicopter going off with wreckage. And so, okay, that would have been very interesting how that played out, to be honest. If, like, they did have plots for that. But I'm just wondering how Armor Wars is going to come about. Like, because obviously there was this whole aspect in regards to Falcon Winter Soldier. One of the characters was manipulating the system. I thought she was going to come back, actually. Sharon Carter. The blonde, the niece of.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping she was going to be a Skrull. She was going to come back, and because it was very off character for her to be like an ally of Captain America, and then.
Of course. Oh yeah, no, I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Because she's manipulating the markets in the underground.
I forgot about that plot and the what show was that one?
Falcon Winter Soldier.
Falcon Winter Soldier. Yeah.
That would have been I think that would have been a very good twist. Like she was a Skrull as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to be going forward, to be honest. But we'll see. So obviously, we gave this a 7 out of 10. I quite enjoyed the show. You did as well.
I did, yeah.
I think it could have been a bit more. They could have done a bit more for the show, in my opinion.
Yes, yeah.
But we'll see how that does going forward. So obviously with NMI, we like to give you our spoilers. We like to give you our reviews. We obviously like to definitely pre-warn you with our spoilers, unlike YouTube thumbnails that me and James hate ridiculously. 100%. It's not like the spoiler I got on BBC Comments
Really?
for the Tony's death in Endgame.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Didn't see it on Twitter, didn't see it on Facebook. Fucking BBC comments for a completely different news article.
Oh, that's fucking annoying, yeah.
Yeah, it was absolutely disgusting. I hated it so much. But anyway, people, you know, we're going to be giving you some good episodes coming up. Actually, we're going to be doing our Witcher Season 3 Part 2 review soon.
Yep.
We're going to try and get our Barbenheimer review sorted. Like, James is going to watch Oppenheimer. I'm going to watch Barbie.
Yep.
And then we'll do a nice combo episode there. I'm definitely going to be dressing up as Ken in the CGI, the pixel version of this, and we'll put James in a nice fedora
I'll take that. A nice little hat.
Yeah, no, definitely. And also, we do have a nice little nuclear bomb animatic for when we do release double episodes, so that'd be quite interesting to possibly reuse that. What else do we have? We have the retro.
So, I mean, what we should do is we should have you dress up as Barbie, but with a fedora.
Barbie. Oh, I do like that.
Because then that is Barbenheimer. That is combining the two.
I mean, you're going to be Ken then.
Then you could, you could have me in like Oppenheimer's suit perhaps, but then you can make me look like Ken as well. Kind of completely like make both images of us combinations of both Barbie.
Oh, I'm definitely beating Barbie. I'm definitely drawing myself. I'm keeping the beard though.
Fair.
I'm definitely keeping the beard for the episode though. Yeah, we're going to be doing a retro games episode, which is going to be really fun. We're going to have some more reviews coming out as well. So I'm going to be watching a few other shows coming up soon. Blue Beetle's coming out in a few weeks' time. Don't know if you're interested in seeing that yourself.
I'm starting to get superhero fatigue, so I know that one is a miss for me.
That's absolutely fair. So retro games episode. What else are we going to have coming up? Oh, you actually wanted to do a revisit of the time loops.
Well, yes, in a way, not necessarily time loops per se, but time travel. So an idea I had for an episode was that a bunch of us will get together and nominate and talk about a film which best represents how they think time travel would work if it was possible. I think that could be quite an interesting discussion.
We're still going to do the drunk review. I definitely want to do. I've still held off watching Cocaine Bear, but okay. I think we might do something in Renfield. I think we might try and find a different movie as well. Okay. Also, I'm thinking about starting to do some retro film reviews, like go back and movies.
I'd be up for that. We could each choose a film we love. Perhaps.
I mean, I'm holding my favourite film right now, the film The Last Starfighter. My favourite film of all time. Might do a retro review for that. Maybe like retro review episode, and we have like one episode where we review our favourite, like one of our favourite films, like from ever, and we get rewatch and see how it plays out today.
Might do another Tom Cruise film.
Interesting.
Might do the classic Tom Cruise, well, not classic anymore, but might be. The film where he plays a villain, which is really good.
I know exactly the film you're on about. Collateral. It's a brilliant movie. That's an absolutely brilliant movie, and one of the only films he's ever played a villain.
I believe so. Even though he was phenomenal as a villain in that, I thought it was really, really good.
Well, it's the same with comedians, is it? Same as like Robin Williams and Jim Carrey as well, like playing villains in movies as well. But anyway, I think we're going to leave it there, James. I thank you for joining the podcast today.
Yeah, no, it's been really good. I enjoyed it.
And definitely looking forward to seeing Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2, and also definitely looking forward to talking the Witcher review, because we are going to have a lot to discuss in that episode.
I do have a lot. I've got a lot to talk about, absolutely.
Oh, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Will do. I haven't seen the second part now, but I know I will.
Yep, there's 3 episodes left for us to watch and possibly be disappointed with, but we'll see how that plays out.
I think I'll be okay with it, but also frustrated on some level, but kind of resigned to the fact that it is as it is, and I don't mind it. It's okay.
Well, we will find out next week, actually. We will definitely find out next week.
Yeah.
Because we'll probably be reviewing that Tuesday. We'll probably release the episode next Friday for that.
Yeah.
Or maybe a bit earlier to seeing how we go with it. But anyway, people, we're going to leave it there. If you've got any questions, queries, or compliments, please feel free to email us at nmipodcastoutlook.com. That's nmipodcastoutlook.com. We are actually looking at getting our Discord set up for the community soon, for people to start coming into the community, like getting all the moderation set up and everything, so people can start coming in and joining us there for chats. If you want to find our socials, search at NMIcast, or just go onto Google and search at NMIcast or need more info. When you need more info, and you'll find us on Google, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, I've been your host, Nate. I'd like to thank James again for joining me today.
Yep, cheers, it's been good.
Right, and we'll see you next time, people. Bye-bye.
Bye.